the question, what will it take to shut you up, has yet to be answered.
Okay, cool. Well, then I'm going to keep asking you questions because this has been, I mean, it's really informative.
Can I say one thing? You just reminded me. Okay. Sure. Sorry, pushy broad. I like saying that because it's so like noir, pulp noir.
You're dressed better than me, so you get to push.
That's so funny. Thanks. Everything's like $2. So I did not finish your question about progesterone, first of all. So you need to have 300 milligrams of oral micronized progesterone. This is the FDA approved drug. Do not, please, I beg you, if I can change one thing in your life, do not buy cream off Amazon or somewhere. It does not get into your body in sufficient amounts to protect you from cancer, to have the symptom relief. And women will believe, people believe that it's helping them, because when we do something, this is how our brain works. Our brain's a little stupid. So if you do something, your brain thinks, I'm doing something, and it's having the effect.
It's working. Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, I said it's working, and it's
yeah, exactly. So we believe that, and I look for that myself. But the thing is, you can't always, notice that. So these drugs, they're not safe. It's the Wild West. They could have anything in them, like hog snot, Viagra, Drano. People mix stuff. I don't know about you. I'm not like a neat person. Like it drops on the floor. Like I just get it before my dog does and I eat it. I'm disgusting. But this is why I think probably like this is called the hygiene hypothesis. If you're dirty, you're less likely to have allergies. Okay. I have no allergies. That tells you
totally works.
Childhood.
Yeah. My husband says he licks doorknobs and that's why he's so healthy. So
I probably lick doorknobs. I just don't remember. So it's very important. So 300 milligrams, you take this at night. Now doctors in America, for no scientific reason whatsoever, clinical habit, which is not science, will want to give you 100 or 200 milligrams. It is not sufficient. You don't know what your metabolic level is, how you metabolize hormones. So because progesterone is not dangerous, if you have liver ascites, which is this fluid building up in your liver, or very low blood pressure, you might have some issues. Also, progesterone is, it's made with peanut oil, usually, I think, except maybe the Prometrium, which is the brand drug, which is expensive. I think in US and Canada, I think that it's all made with that. So people might need to go to compounding pharmacy and get it made with olive oil or something else. But accredited, please. So
and is this a daily thing? Because I know that they do like a cyclic progesterone
so they do
as well.
I put this in the book. It's a little complicated. This is Geraldine Pryor. I put in, what she says, because I have her as a clinician. I'm not a clinician. I can read the research, but here's how you take this. And also Herbert Kuhl. They're just these wonderful pharmacy nerds. Oh my God, I love pharmacists. They're fantastic. And so he's one of them. And so you have the 300 milligrams. This helps your sleep. It does, for me, it did until menopause, and then I needed to do something else. You take this, it helps your heart. So nitric oxide, which estrogen also potentiates the relaxing of your arteries. I think of them like arteries at leisure, instead of being stiff, they're elastic and open. This is really important because, when you have blood pressure forcing itself through there, you can get lesions in your arteries. And that's the whole hello, home for plaque, and then also you have what happens the way we have clots. What happens is the unstable plaque breaks off and there's a clot that forms. This is, the hello heart attack hotel or stroke or, so that's progesterone in perimenopause. And so not to advise this, but there's a story I put in the book. Amy Dressner, who's very funny. She wrote My Fair Junkie. She was my abusive editor. And I say that with great fondness. I won't use a profanity, she does, but, which I loved, but she would be like, this sentence is an abomination. I need to stop for a cigarette and an espresso in the middle. Really funny edits like that. So she edited the first part of the book. Her doctor, now this is somebody, Amy was, My Fair Junkie, unsober for decades. Okay. So she could go right now to Jack in the Box and some sketchy guy put Molly, whatever drug. She couldn't get 300 milligrams of progesterone out of her doctor. This drug made with yams, and they're converted. So not in yams anymore, but seriously, Like seriously. So what Amy did was she went to an online pharmacy. Her doctor first gave her 100, and then she was able to squeeze 200 out of her. And then she didn't put this on her insurance, so they didn't know, to get this drug. And I'm not advising this. I'm telling you a story. And then she gets drugs, and she texts me the picture. And I'm like, okay, Amy, I'm really sorry. I hope you can get your money back. Those are from India. You cannot take them. Flush them. No, actually, I didn't say flush them. I just made that up right now. But no, don't take them. I hope you can send them back. And again, you can check who's the manufacturer. Call the company in New Jersey. Are these made here? And so she ended up getting this from an online pharmacy to get the extra amount. It's not extra either. She needed that to be protected and to sleep. And so in menopause, some women like me have sleep problems. Now, some of this is caused by what's called nocturia. This is like, what did we say about nature's call? Okay, nature is like a stalker, and they're an unblockable number, and they call you all night, and you're like, gotta pee again. Like, what happened? They swapped your bladder with the sparrows. It's really awful. But so estrogen helps you not be like Miss P of the universe of like, where you're like 5 or 6 times a night up and down. But I wasn't sleeping. And so
estrogen, or you meant progesterone?
Oh no, this is estrogen.
Okay, so that was going to be the next question. So you're kind of going into it, but let me say, so when should, you're saying women should start progesterone when they're perimenopausal, and I can attest that it does help sleep a lot. I'm a fan. Then when should people start taking estrogen, or I guess estradiol is probably
it's estradiol. So estrogen is the class drug, but estradiol is the same form that's in your body. And you'll see people like, bioidentical. Oh my God, that's not a scientific term. Okay, it means the same as the stuff in your body. Like there's a lot of this, like like a gas, like, oh my God, trying to be like, sort of like,
Well, the whole like taking horse pee thing, I think maybe we've kind of moved away from that a little bit. I mean, people still do. It depends on the person, of course, but yes. And then you were talking about having our organs removed. Last I checked, it's 2025. Why are we butchering ourselves? There should be another way. So go ahead.
You're talking about I see Mary Jen Eads. The Eads fact checked my cardiovascular stuff, and I kept saying I was really tired. I said I said it twice. Cognitive equine estrogen. Oh my God, no, it's conjugated. It's a bunch of different, like horse pee, made into. Now, the thing is, there are synthetic drugs that are fine. I can't think of any of them right now, but there are, and, but this is a drug. And the problem is not so much necessarily it's synthetic, but that it's oral. So oral drugs, what we have is called first pass hepatic effect. So our liver is really good. It's like the, sanitation worker of sanitation workers, really good at getting rid of stuff we put in the body. Whoosh, whoosh, gone. So you need 10 to 20 times the amount of estrogen orally that you need transdermally. I have, think of it as Hello Kitty stickers, but without the Hello Kitty. There's some really cute little ones, but I know huge ones. There are transdermal estrogen patches. That means they're stickers and they stay on. Now, there are also gels. I don't like them. They can get on things, and I just need to I have ADD, not to like, wait, did I put on my, whatever? It's bad enough to remember the testosterone. And then I also use vaginal estrogen. My body is like with estrogen, like, dump that, Amy. Vaginal estrogen is local, except for there's one kind that's a ring that isn't, but a friend of mine says, you feel the ring in there. She doesn't like that. I don't know if everyone feels it, but so I use the patch. I use a Climera patch. This doesn't mean you should use a Climera patch, but I found this is this 0.1 milligram dose of Climera. And guess what? Mine, because my body gets rid of so much steroid hormones, partly because of my high SHBG from eating a carnivore diet, that's sex hormone binding globulin, locks up the estrogen. It has like the way the estrogen locks in its receptors, it has like not fake, but it's the same. So it grabs on there like, haha, gotcha. Hi, and I don't get it in my tissues, so I had to fight these battles, these gynecologists. Oh my God, I wrote a book on female intersexual competition for my columns called Mean Girlology. My gynecologist said, dude, he's the greatest. Even though he didn't he's a baby doctor, but he really is, thinks he's creative. It's the art of medicine, as Leslie Newsom told me, was talking about this, how you make decisions for patients with the physiology and everything and the whole transdisciplinary thing. That's real scientific thinking. These like 10 women refused to give me the estrogen I needed to have, like a chance at even therapeutic levels in other women. So if you give another woman 2 Climera patches, she's going to have estrogen off the charts. Me, there's something called a pharmaceutical, it's a C minimum, and there's a trough. That's really like the last day of your patch. Trough is like, hello, anybody home? C minimum. So it's the C minimum for a Climera patch applied on your butt where you get the most of it, is 71. So this doctor, oh my God, I'm using 2 patches, and all she cares about is this is not over 100. Okay, arbitrary number. That's weird. And so mine tests out at 17. She's like, oh, great. Like, hey, do you realize that I have less than a menopausal woman? I'm like, sticking these patches on me. Like, hi, what do I do? Cover my whole body
over your face. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and these doctors, 10 of them wouldn't even do that. And so I'm working on this now. I probably need 3. Because I'm not going to eat. The answer is eat Oreos. Like, Nick Norwich did that. Eat Oreos, your SHBG will come down. Fantastic. That's great. Insulin resistance. Welcome. Pancreas, we're gonna like kill you. So sorry, a little oversimplified. But so the estrogen patch, that is the safest because it goes through your skin. So what happens is by the time it gets to your liver, there's very little of it left. So while oral estrogen, its big dose, can raise clotting factors and can lead to blood clots, by the time transdermal estrogen gets there, or estradiol, there's so little, it can't, like this is physiologically highly implausible to impossible. Yet the nice doctors, they had to send me to San Juan Capistrano, which is really far away. They're like a monastery there, something famous in movies. I have to do a phone appointment with her. She's very nervous, but was great because she stuck her neck out for me. She gives me this and she said, well, there's still like risk. Estrogen transdermal can still increase heart disease or heart attack risk. I'm like, how? Is there a wizard involved? I didn't say that.
And that's the thing too, is that you're getting feedback from the doctors who are trying.
No, she doesn't know a thing.
Yeah, but they're getting their wires crossed. Like they're saying
like,
for some one thing, but it's another.
It's medical myths. So much of our medical care is based on. So she believes this, and I write to her and I say, well, actually, no, because there's not enough there. This doesn't happen magically. And then, stroke risk. Okay, my blood pressure is 99/62. I once had this idea of like, maybe because I was really having a hard time with focus, and my psychiatrist and I were trying things, and I decided I would try taking pseudoephedrine along with the rest of the amphetamine factory that I take. And this is a bad idea. It dehydrates you, blah, 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 blah. But my psychiatrist, before I went to try it, since I'm not a drug seeker, I'm the antithesis of that. He says, okay, but I have a home blood pressure thing that's medical. It's not just like, from like, Tinker Toys. He says, well, take the pseudoephedrine and take your blood pressure. And I did it the day before, just taking the Adderall. So with the Adderall, it's 90, it doesn't change, 99/62. And then with the pseudoephedrine, it was 96/65 or something like that. like nothing, and so and she says, oh, stroke risk. Okay, the leading, risk factor is high blood pressure. My blood pressure is not going to get out of bed, for really anything other than like a nuclear warhead of like amphetamines, shot into me or something. I don't even know. And so this ignorance, this keeps patients from having the care they need. And the fact that she's all sanguine, just all like, cool. It's 17. Oh, fantastic. She's defending herself, protecting herself. She's not informed. She stuck her neck out. I'm very grateful to her, and then the hilarious thing was, she said, okay, I asked her for the tests that I need, which is, you need to get to really know correctly your estrogen level and testosterone. You have to get these high sensitivity tests. It's called liquid chromatography tandem mass spectrometry. So LCMSMS. You don't have to remember that, but just look at high sensitivity. And then for testosterone, it starts in EM. I always Damn. Okay, but so they had to special order these from Quest. She didn't know how. And I wanted SHBG, and she said, I'm not an expert. I want you to take this workshop with one of our menopause experts. Okay, this is another myth. So medicine, so most of the doctors are baby doctors. They don't know, they're not trained in menopause at all, or very little. They had a page in their medical school textbook and 2 lectures or whatever. They don't know clinical rotations. They don't have their ass kicked by some mean doctor, which is really a good thing. So, the experts, they take an online course with the Menopause Society. So here in California, if you get a traffic ticket, you have to go to traffic school. We do it online, like comedian traffic school. This is like traffic school for your ovaries. You need 45, this continuing medical ed requirement, you need 45 credits total in women's health. And 15 of those have to be in menopause and perimenopause. Okay. Wow. Really? Serious? And then you take a multiple choice test online. Seriously? So I know these doctors don't know, I sat here and read for 8 years. When you read like that, and I'm really careful. I know physiology. I look at the physiology. I have these, all this stuff all over my house, like these, how different chemicals in the body are connected, huge charts. I just pour over like for entertainment with coffee. It's sitting on my floor. And so I'm not saying like I'm some genius. I just work harder and have more time to do it than doctors do. And so there's so much myth in all of this, or they don't understand things. And so I lost my train of thought. I was going to make some important point, but this is stuff that goes on where they're treating you. It's defensive medicine, protecting their career because they don't know. Here's the thing. She sends me to the workshop. The poor woman who did it. I'm going to try to be the nice person that I was raised to be, the Midwest. It's just not nice because it's not her. I'm not going to name her name, this woman who did this, but I'm going to do 10 things the expert, got wrong in this workshop. Oh, and they had a nutritionist. Oh my God. Proteins, like, damage your liver. I was like, seriously? So I started doing this really terrible thing. Hi, I have no impulse control. I'm going to blame it on, I don't know what, the air. There was something in my drink. So I start in the texting thing. Once the thing, starts to wind down, I start texting pieces from my book. And the liver thing, I said, that's not true. This is a myth. If you have healthy kidneys, you're not going to have a problem. All this stuff. And someone was like, let the experts talk. And I was like, okay. I'm like, and I went, okay, you don't want this? Okay, fine. Fine. But, and I was a little miffy and immature. But this is the thing. They're telling patients all this stuff, plant-based diet and all this stuff of like, yeah, I eat plants. I eat the animals that eat them. I'm not eating I'm eating a cow, not a salad. So delicious, by the way. Oh my God, it's fantastic. And this is like what's going on and what passes for evidence-based medical care. And these institutions they all allow this. They don't backstop for it. And so, we can't become medical experts ourselves in the way we need to. But you need to at least do this stuff where you look up the adverse effects. And in my book, Going Menopostal, I have 6 questions. So you need to interrogate your doctor about the stuff they should be telling you. These are 6 questions to ask your doctor before agreeing to treatment. Can you lay out your reasoning beyond your diagnosis and the treatment you're recommending? Could there be other conditions that are causing my symptoms? Your doctor should think of all of this. What are my risks from this treatment? Are there safer, less invasive alternatives? What can I expect during the treatment? What sort of recovery? And do I need this do I need to do this now, or could I wait or go without treatment? And if they are not explaining things understandably, well, okay, then they maybe probably don't understand them well enough. I can go to lecture on certain, the major histocompatibility complex, which I won't even explain. I understand it. Can I give a lecture myself? Can I explain stuff to you? Not really. There's a difference between knowing and understanding when you hear it, and then really knowing. And that's the problem. And then these people are like, they have a responsibility to us. And so you have to take a responsibility to fill in for their not taking their responsibility in these ways. It's really, really important. And that's where the be a pain in the ass thing comes in. Oh, I just want to make sure I cover the estrogen thing. So transdermal is the safest. And doctors will be afraid to give you sufficient amounts. The way it works, they will give you estrogen, if you have hot flashes, they treat according to symptoms. They won't test. Now, I got my levels tested because I have this issue with the sex hormone binding globulin. And believe me, they argue we don't test. Okay, I kind of need to know my base. Am I getting any estrogen? And the answer is not really. Not really. I need that for my bones, my cardiovascular system, because if you don't have estrogen after menopause, like within 6 years is the amount that's conservative. It's not like they tested against 7 or 9, but this is a number we have from Howard Hodis and Wendy Mack. There's a thing called the timing hypothesis, that you need to start estrogen within 10 years of menopause. Now, this is sort of an arbitrary number, but the point is, if you can start it right after menopause, 12 months without a period is menopause. And some women might be able to start it during perimenopause, but you don't really know. If you're sick like I was with the horrible hot flashes and spiking estrogen, is probably not a good idea. Some women will take it at the end of perimenopause. Some women might be made sicker by it and not be getting progesterone. And so if you start it right at menopause, as a healthy woman, you need to be investigated for your health. I put in all the tests here of what you need to get tested, and the test your doctors don't know. So I'll test APOB. Okay, this is an incoherent number pretty much. If you just have that tested alone, you need APOB and APOA1. And I told my doctor refuse to have APOB unless he gave me APOA1, because the ratio tells you, oh, wait a second, am I going to die? Oh, I'm not going to die. No. I have, what doctors don't understand. So I have high LDL. That's because I eat a ton of saturated fat. I get that beef chuck where people, they term it all like fat. Oh, there's meat in there too. Whatever,
That's
and
my favorite too.
I know, I feel so good. Oh, it's delicious and
Yes.
it's inexpensive. Oh my God. And so I'm clearing a lot of fat. I'm a lean mass hyper-responder per Dave and Nick. And so high LDL, what matters is not the number. If only my doctor, please, could you read the 30-page PDF I sent to correct the hypercholesterol?
And that's where I am a LMHR as well, and we fall in this phenotype that nobody cares or wants to know about, so they just want to lump you in with everybody else. And like you said earlier, it really could be protective. We don't know. That's what we're trying to find out.
I strongly believe it. LDL. Your immune system, I strongly believe it is. People die from low LDL. Now, that's just correlational. But the thing is that I don't have signs of inflammatory unhealth. Quite the contrary. I'm 61 years old, and I do slow speed weight training. By the way, down in Florida, oh my God, this is the best guy. He's the only non-scientist I quote in my book, except for like Amy Dressner and fun people and my friends. But Drew Bay, B-A-Y-E, he is the best person on the evidence-based exercise and being careful, being safe. So he has stuff on his blog somewhere, his old blog, I think it's bay.com, B-A-Y-E, about elderly people, and it's supposed to be he has a lot of trainers and everything who looked him and they're members of this thing called his hit list, which is subscription, and I'm on that. He gives me a complimentary subscription so I can see all this stuff. He put that on there. He's a thing about how to be safe. He emphasizes safety, like start out, we're all grabby chimps, we humans, me especially. I have an avatar like that with red hair, a chimp, like lipstick, earrings. But so we want to start out, I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to be Hercules at, from the start and lift these fabulous heavy weights. No. He says, use the lightest weights, get good form, and slow speed weight training involves doing bilaterally so you don't get injured. That means both arms at the same time. Very slow up and slow down, 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down. It's very boring and hard at first. You can use a metronome or a clock. And this also helps because weights are really expensive. So if you do the slower speed, you need less weight. And this is, they're like, hello. Maybe I should rob the Louvre and get like more weights. So I would never. Anyway, I just like my ethics. Also, my friend designed railings there. He's a retired master woodworker in Paris, and go there and it's like,
these are my friend's rails.
I know, right? I'm not going to steal from sorry.
I'm not here for the art. I'm here for these railings. Thank you.
Well, actually both, but never the Mona Lisa, the crowds. Oh my God,
Oh.
never the Mona Lisa, the crowds. Oh my God,
Oh.
the horrible.
Yeah.
So I'll skip that one. So anyway, what was I on? Oh,
You were
slow
talking
speed.
about
Oh,
strength
this is
training, which
so.
I think is, I just want to point out, if you're listening, not watching, you got to watch, because when you move your arms, I mean, I don't know,
Fluffy.
you're at a woman of a certain age. Aren't you not supposed to be able to hold muscle like that? You're an
Wait, hold on.
anomaly.
Oh, you mean I don't have the high
Yeah.
Ellens.
You got,
No,
oh,
oh, no,
yeah.
this is like, and this is because I eat carnivore, so I'm not like, I don't have a lot of, stuff hanging down there because I
Right.
don't have,
Right.
and I mean, I really, I just eat grease all day. And so the slow speed weight training, you do, find weights heavy for you. You lift do like 8 or 10 reps to muscle failure. What that means is you cannot do another one with good form, no squirming. And by the way, you can probably do one more than you think. This is very interesting research. I think it was Archibald Cox. And then Tim Noakes brought it out later about this idea that, our brain thinks like, oh my God, I'm dying, whiny little
Yeah,
brat.
you got to
And
smack
you
that.
think like,
Yeah.
yeah, and like, really, can you not do one more? I bet you can, but you don't want to strain where you're squirming. And so when you do that, you create the tension in your muscles that helps. This is your muscles becoming, strong and quality, as opposed to this, like these horrible drugs they give you. This is bone quality, and your bones and muscles are metabolically active. You need to load your bones in order to have bone health and muscle health, and not have what's called sarcopenia, which is muscle wasting. What you do for muscle, you do for bone. This is the most healthy and efficient exercise. In fact, Mike and Mary Dan Eads wrote a book called The Slow Speed Strength Revolution with this guy, Fred Hahn. He's another one, and I appreciate him too. And I read this. I had Mike and Mary Dan on a podcast I used to do, and you don't believe this. It seems unbelievable. I remember that Mike is he is former. Gary was a physicist, Mike an engineer. So that Gary Tubbs, that was their background. And so Mike is excellent on science. I know him for many years. They're friends, Mike and Mary Dan. And so he's saying this thing about, your metabolic system will be better. It's better for it improves your heart, your metabolism, and your bones. And so, there's this idea that, you would be able to, I run like, I'm an Ashkenazi Jew. I run like an Ashkenazi Jew, as opposed to, the African sprinters where you're like, Usain Bolt. Oh my God.
You're running. At least you're doing the motions.
My feet move.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
I will distance. I will run around the globe, and you'll be like, lying in like Prague while I'm still like, going through the forest.
I can't run from here to there. It's my least favorite form of transportation.
Either,
so you got me beat. So.
No, I have tendon damage thanks to my doctor's horrific, malpractice. So I'm not running anywhere now, let alone like I'm trying not to fall walking across my living room and get a concussion. But, so I do this thing for a while. And I remember what Mike said. I'm like, okay, Eads, we're going to like test out what she said. So I have to pay my rent. So I run, the mailbox here is like down there a few blocks. I sprint to the mailbox. Oh my God, who is this person sprinting? Hello? Wait, where did that come from? I could sprint, and I wasn't winded from that, or like, it was amazing. And this is not science. It's called the N of one, like, it's story, anecdote. But I mean, I was ready to be all like, okay, Ease. Yeah. Like you said, yeah, and not because he's wrong on science, but because it just seems like, seriously, I'm going to become this other. Yes, you are. I'm the strongest I've ever been. I have grip strength from that now. I can't open a plastic bottle now from the thing. I'm laughing, but it's really a tragedy. I spent a good bit of my day sobbing. But so this is incredible for health. These are the most powerful and efficient things you can do for health: is eat a carnivore diet or low carb diet. Do not cheat. This is, Gary and I see this as not that we're denying ourselves things, but that we're avoiding things that will harm us. And I will eat, if I go to a party, which I don't do very often, and they're chocolates or cookies, I will analyze them like this, scientifically, like, okay, first of all, are they made by a vegan? They have like butter and stuff, or they have like fake yucky crap in them. And if they're made by a vegan, I'm not eating them. But if I can analyze the butter and then which white chocolate or the dark or the whatever, I sit there and then I'm going to have one. I eat 3 always. I mean, but I do this so I'm not feeling deprived, and I'll do it, but I don't really eat dessert other than that. Like at a party, I don't get ice cream. I don't do anything. And when you don't eat sugar like this, like I don't, and I mean, I was just like a sugar hog my whole life. You suddenly start having sort of more like refined taste, finer taste. I don't mean refined. It sounds like I'm, an English lady in the garden, but what it is that I can drink whole milk warmed in my little milk foamer for dessert. It's delicious. It's so good. And here I was, this person, like in New York, I used to medicate with brownies, like, and then you feel bad the next day. So you're worse. You feel fat and disgusting. And then your problem's still there. You just feel fat and disgusting with the problem. So it's like, okay, not smart. But those two things. And I have to say also, I'm an author. If I write, like you read my words, you have my book on your shelf, it helped you. Oh my God, that's so exciting. I'll never be jaded of that. If I make dinner, I'm sorry, it's like, in the sewage system already. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. So I don't cook, I heat. Flip, salmon, flip. And actually now I make stuff in the air fryer because it's faster. Like, okay, push the button again, and I put ghee on it and stuff, the salmon and some Old Bay, because I put Old Bay on everything, and so I have these.
I'm from Maryland. I put Old Bay on everything.
Meat, fish. I get lamb when it's on sale, lamb shanks, and then I have to cook. Oh, I got a sous vide. Mary Dan and Mike gave me a sous vide that was a floor model. Oh my God, it's so wonderful. So I just cooked lamb shanks for 48 hours because they're very tough. They're cheap at Amazon. They're so fatty and good. And then you get a little marrow out. My God, you make the cheapest meat. So this is what I do. I just eat this I don't spend a lot of time on food prep, and then exercise also. I do not belong to a gym. First of all, I lived off my savings. I still am. Now, for doing this book, I just had to do it. It was just the right thing to do for women. And, and so.
Y'all buy this book.
Oh, yeah, buy my book, Going Menopostal. Yes, thank you. So I'm not able to spend a lot of money and either on food. I eat very cheaply. I make food that's good. And then the gym thing. Okay, no gym. Also, I'm not coordinated in those like snotty LA women, like the Lululemon. I took a yoga class once. So, you're supposed to just, or like even at the doctor, raise your right hand. It's bad proprioception. And I have to think, I always tell them like, I'm not screwing with you. I actually have to be like, I'm 61.
Yeah, you gotta look. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Which hand do I write with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then food, I buy the hamburgers, the next best thing to dog. People are like grass-fed, like pastured monks, like massage them. Yeah, you know what? How about like it's meat and not like plant fake gross chemical stuff. And then I eat like tinned herring and mackerel, and I'll buy salmon when it's on sale at Amazon and lamb shanks. And then I'm going to give you and your viewers a massive tip about eggs. So eggs are enormously inflammatory. I used to eat sardines. There's a thing called myfooddata.com. I looked up the omega-6 and omega-3 there, in foods, and you get enough omega-6 just being a person who opens their mouth and puts food in. And so I try to get a more 1-to-1 or at least 1-to-4 ratio. It's really probably 1-to-1, like ancestral people seem to have. So what was I going to say? The eggs. So because I'm from the Midwest, again, I use that as that's my excuse for everything today. I would buy those supermarket eggs, like the ones with the shells that are so crappy that you look at them in the shell cracks, because they were like not a lot of money. And then eggs got really expensive. And I realized those supermarket eggs are so inflammatory. I mean, they have so much in the way of omega-6. And we don't totally know all this stuff on omega-3 and omega-6, but I see enough that's persuasive that says, yeah, no. And so then I started
getting. When a box proudly says vegetarian fed hens, I'm like, but they're supposed to eat bugs. So I don't want that package of eggs.
Here's the thing. So in those Vital Foods eggs, they say pastured cows. They are, they're thieves, those people. This is dishonest because, are they pastured? You know what? They are. And then they come in and they eat soy and corn. Okay, you're leading people to believe that they're slightly less inflammatory than the cheap supermarket eggs. And so what I've had to do is get eggs with no corn and soy feed. Now they're fed flaxseed, which is not fantastic, but it's much better. So I get in here in California, we have Chino Hills that has a sunburst. The other ones are not, and then they're like Happy Hens eggs. And I was at one point, because you couldn't get them, Whole Foods would always be out and I have to have them delivered because I don't have a car anymore, through Amazon. You order them, they never have them. I mean, like insane. I was like, please, can you hold them for me, like secretly, like, like no, but so I was going to order them from the Midwest. Now I can get the Chino Hills one, but it's really, really important to not have that. If you don't want to have that inflammation in your body. Now, when we get older, we're more sensitive. And so here's the thing, you and I both talked about, like getting prescriptions for drugs that are harmful. You're less robust, when you're me at 60 than you are in younger years. And Michael Rose, who's this amazing, amazing researcher who looks at, can we plateau our aging? And it seems that this sounds crazy, and he does research on flies, but really it does hold up. That if you eat a diet, like if you eat like they did in France, if you eat bread and things, but you eat like they did in France in 1930, you can probably plateau your aging at like, I think it's like, is it 95 or something like that? Standard American diet, 106, you're already dead. But for me, having eaten carnivore or low carb since 2009, doing the exercise I do, the idea is that maybe I could plateau my aging at 70. I'm 61. I would like that, and this idea where we don't just keep eroding. There are these other certain animals or organisms we see this in. Really, really interesting. But whether or not that's the case, you're healthier. And it's so important. So I have this fluoroquinolone injury now, but here's the thing. I have a base of healthy mitochondria. I really work on that. There's a lady I follow, Madam Mitochondria. I barely understand the studies she posts, and I really understand science, but this is like this whole other area that I have to like explore after I get a little more done on stuff for this book and other related things. But healthy mitochondria, my muscles and bones are, they're healthy. And then my gut. So if you have that kind of like menobelly, if you have visceral fat, you end up, that's metabolically active, nasty fat that is trying to kill you. So all of these things that I've done to foster my health, and also not drinking, and believe me, Bitey White, I used to have like a glass a night. I don't drink now, and I'll drink at a party or something like that, but not the way I did before, because I'm just so careful about my health. And also, so sad. It's a tragedy in my life. I'm Jew from Michigan. We did not have bacon. My mother was one of the worst cooks in probably the Western universe. I mean, seriously, terrible, like particle board. And she followed the Pritikin diet, which is like a crime against taste buds and humanity and the high. Where's the Hague? And so I didn't have bacon. So when I became an adult, this was my joy every day. 3 strips of greasy bacon. So beautiful. Oh my God, it was like wonderful. And so when I had this transplant coming up, my corneal endothelium transplant, I was like, yeah, guess what? We're going to go SWAT team on inflammation. You're no more bacon. And so, and you know what, when you do something, we don't have a not do, but we have a do. That's how our mind works. I got this from Art Markman, who's a wonderful social scientist, but I know this too. You have to do things like you do something else rather than not doing something. So that day that I think this, I don't have bacon. I have actually, it probably sounds gross, it's delicious. Brunswick tinned herring. They're like $2 each in the tin. And I put butter on it. Oh, I eat butter all day because I'm carnivore. It's delicious. Pastured butter. That's the one thing I get that's like, a monk blessed it or something. And I put that in, I heat it in the microwave for like a minute on 6. It's delicious. And that was my first day of that. And it was like, Mom said, oh, this is good. And then you just do it each day. Every day every time you do a habit, you reinforce it. There's a line, nerves that fire together, wire together. This is Donald Hebb, as restated by a woman named Carla Schutz, who's another scientist. So every time you take an action, those individual nerves firing, they fire and then they fire. And then they think, my description of it is like Bob and Ken, they go to work, each one, they're same way. Like, hey, dude, let's carpool, and that becomes like this think pack. And you're automatic that way where you just do it. And that's the same reason why, the 70-pound weights in the morning. Okay, you woke up, you're alive, go in the kitchen, start the coffee, and then you're going to lift the 70-pound weights on your back bilaterally because that's healthy. And then you're going to do push-ups, the 20-pound weight on your back, military push-ups, slow speed. And now this is not the to muscle failure intense thing. I just do that, because like, hey, I'm going to lift some weight and strain my muscles. It's called Wolf's Law, that in order to, have bone and muscle health, you need to load them substantially more than just, sort of, I'm going to pick up a straw or a glass. You have to put substantial weight on them. So doctors, Kaiser, on their website, walk for bone health. Okay, unless you're carrying an elephant, a baby elephant, you're not helping your bones. I mean, maybe a little, you're moving. Sedentary is not good. Moving is better. Their mental health effects from walking, it has benefits, but it's not exercise in a way that's going to meaningfully help your health. So if you have a limited amount of time, I work out, okay, see my muscles, like I don't do that much. 16 minutes of flow speed training a week. And then I do the 70-pound whatever, but it's not like a big strain or anything. So, this is really, really important for you to have daily, this message is sent. Again, metabolically active, you're sending all these messages out basically to be healthy, not have insulin resistance, to not have inflammation, to have healthy mitochondria. So vital. Just do these things, make this your lifestyle, make this normal life for you, get used to it. And then you plan, if I'm going to party, so I'm not a person that no one ever wants to have their, I'm not like, could you make me like, okay, you're having like pasta, would you make me like a steak from, no. So what I do is I eat beforehand if they might be serving pasta, and I'll push salad around or something. And then I always have a tin of herring with me with my granny's napkin, wrapped with rubber banded around it with a fork. So if I'm at Kaiser and I'm hungry, when I go, I have to go to the one for my eyes that's far away. I have my little tin of herring there. I eat that. I'm fine. And this is like the important thing to do, because what you're doing is you're fostering your health. You're doing the work, this tiny bit of work. It's just habit, instill the right habits. So you cannot be and you can be like not unhealthy. So you can not suffer. You just live your life. I'm going to be me. I'm going to I'm going to rob the Louvre with my one finger that now no longer has the fingerprint from the curling iron, from no feeling, and from the fluoroquinolones. I can go rob the Louvre when I'm like 9,000 years old, with my no fingerprint. Like, okay, you just have to do everything.
Just everything with your thumb. I'm so glad that you mentioned that. That was actually one of the questions I had written down as you were talking, was just this, like, the protective aspect. I mean, you've talked about the protective aspects of taking the hormones, and now you're talking about the protective aspects of just overall health. So many people are looking for that reason why, and sometimes just being like, well, you don't know what's coming and you need to be ready for it.
Exactly. And then also, I make everything fun, my life, where it's like things that people find boring. So what happens, I write it in the last 2 chapters of the book about the invisibilizing of women as we age. And you know what? The stigma of aging, you heard me say I'm 61. I probably said it once, but I force that on everybody. I am the anti-stigma of aging person. I'm going to tell you my age. I'm 61. I'm fabulous, and I'm fabulous because I'm a vastly better person than I was at 51 or 41. Oh my God, my 20s. I feel so sorry for that. I'm going to come here, I'll hug you. I mentor younger women now, and I tell them what I would have told myself about, life and things. But so how great to be me now. And if I can have my health and be me, the person I've developed myself into, wow. And then you can go do things in your life. And this is the last chapter, Old is the New Black. I talk about my friend, Debbie Levin. She's so amazing. So I met her. I sold my own column. I syndicated it myself to the alternative weekly newspapers and gotten a whole bunch. And she would be there selling. First, she started Matt Groening's column with his then wife. But then she sold Callahan, this cartoonist, quadriplegic cartoonist, my friend also, very funny, to the alt weeklies. And we'd be sitting there and everything. Wait, what was the point about Debbie? Oh, this is so cool. So she was an agent for animators and everything. Sorry, the ADHD is like, hello, come, let me pull your leash. She starts making ceramics. She's an incredible artist. All these famous interior designers buy her stuff and put it in houses. And she's in these stores, these fancy stores in LA where they sell art, and she's just done this. She just, and her work is incredible. and this is this cool thing to see. She has a whole career. She's making money doing this. And other people, Mrs. Abbott Kinney, I write about in the book. She's a cranky lady I've never met, but I knew her from Twitter until she got banned for saying the wrong thing. But she teaches adults to read at the Venice Library. And like all these women are having these next careers. They're mentoring other women, they're doing great stuff, or they're just like, oh, did you want to live in Lisbon? Move there, and have an adventure, or go to France, and you'll have the most huge nightmare of property buying, that you could ever imagine. So you'll be like, you'll die from that instead of like ill health. So, sorry, I got off tangent, but, and this is the thing of like, what do you want to do with this later part of your life? You have all this opportunity, especially if you've been a woman. I don't have children, but women who have raised a family and everything, now they can be for themselves. What will they do with the rest of their life? It's very exciting. You can do all these things now, especially now. In my grandpa, his vision went, and my dad is so sad. He took his keys. My grandpa had this giant, big black boat Cadillac. It wasn't safe for him to be on the roads, not just for him, for other human beings. And that was so sad. And so my dad would pick up my grandpa every night and come to our house for dinner. But my grandpa couldn't go to the store or do those things that you do when you're just a person. And now, I can't see sort of, or my vision's now improved, but I couldn't drive at night. Like, I started to be blurry before I knew I had this genetic disease, and I couldn't drive at night. And now I like my phone. And we even here in LA, because I'm poor now. I like to say I'm temporarily extremely poor for this living my savings business. Oh my God. But I take a $125 shuttle. It's kind of like Uber. It comes to like within like a few houses of you, $1.25. I only go places that shuttle goes, and this is like incredible. You're on that bus, a few other people on it, but this is like, who knew that this would be a possibility? And all these people who had no independence anymore when they were old, that's changed. And getting groceries delivered. They come from Amazon, a nice person delivers them. I don't go anywhere for that. I don't need a car. Our lives are incredible now. And if we just have our health with all the technology we have, we have incredible opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're just making that point that menopause is not the end. It's a beginning of a new chapter. It's not an end. And that aging, we don't just have to sit here and watch ourselves wither away. We can be in it the entire time and enjoying every moment instead of sitting there and waiting for what's going to happen next.
And see, you look that way. I see you like appear. How do you tell how old you are or no?
I'm 47. No, I'm 48.
But see, because you have gray hair. I thought you were older. It was like,
I do. I know. I rock the white,
oh, no,
but
it's
been like this since I was in high school.
Oh my God. But see, I was telling you before we started, like, I loved your hair. My friend Virginia Postrella has hair like that too. It's so beautiful. But mine, if you're a redhead, the problem is that my hair doesn't go gray. It goes yellow. It's a disgusting color. And also without darker hair, I look like I'm a corpse. So more than I look like right now as a Martian with this white skin. I joke that I haven't gone outside since the first Bush administration. But actually, I'm just an idiot who wears sunblock instead of like vitamin D.
Yes, you need that vitamin D. Get that natural vitamin D from the sun. But
that's
hard to do if you don't go out in it. So.
I know. Well, it's my trade-off that I'm not a vain idiot. What can I say? So I just hope like the rest of the stuff I'm doing, the fact that I'm not getting natural vitamin D, like that I'll be okay.
I'm pretty sure you're pretty balanced out there.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah. So I really have just one more question, but I feel like it's going to take you off of. It might make you. It might make you want to stab someone in the eye, but I don't know. But you've talked about our own personal responsibility in our health and our longevity and how we feel as we age or how we prepare for what may or may not happen as we age. What do you see as the future for healthcare system, healthcare doctors?
I really, right now, I'm really not optimistic. I don't see change happening in medical schools, and medicine is this thing, it's practiced sort of by rote. The art of medicine, Leslie Newson is, she's a menopause expert in the UK. She's a doctor. And you know, I respect her. I don't respect. So people are researchers. They can be as famous as whatever. I don't respect them. I look at their research. I don't talk to them. I don't interview them. I really respect her. And, you know, the art of medicine, she talked about practicing. And this is when you take everything into account, the physiology, the person's values, this science, that science, and you know more than science in one area. And, you know, my gynecologist, he's a dude. I love him. Now, he was the one I told him, you know, when the book came out, I got mad. I said, I was a little mad at you at the beginning, but I didn't realize that none of them had this training. They're forced to treat you. It's awful. But he is the one who came up with the solution of me using 2 patches. He really cares. He does something where he really listens. So this is called, there's shared decision making. This is another one of these terms. And what that means is that a doctor pays attention to who you are and what your values are. And he uses that to try to come up with treatment decisions and checks with you to see if they work for you. So my doctor, knowing me what a science nerd I am, I have to figure out if I'm going to say the sort of gross thing. When I go there, I need to get an ultrasound. By the way, if you're in menopause and you're bleeding, I don't care if you think like, I know what it is. You go to the gynecologist like you're on fire. I'm serious. Go there because it could be cancer or it could just be what it was for me. 7,000-year-old IUD. So I, you know, have this bleeding and I'm like, okay, you're a progesterone factory, Amy. You're like taking all this. It's unlikely that you have endometrial cancer and something else. And I call to make the appointment and I say, oh, could you remove to the nurse, let's remove my 7,000-year-old. And I'm like, oh, see, that causes bleeding. Mm-hmm. And so it was that, in fact. And so my doctors, when I go there, so I get the transvaginal ultrasound and he said, I know you want to see this. So he turns it toward me. Oh my God, my intestines are like the 405 freeway. Like a lot of movement in there. Look at the traffic. And then, okay, I'm not going to tell you the disgusting thing, but, well, okay, I will. He takes out my IUD and he knows, he says, I'm going to leave that for you to look at. So I take a picture of it. I should have taken it home. Hi. And by the way, I had the copper.
You could have mounted it and you could have it hanging up on the wall.
This did a lot of, yeah. I also want to.
You do not know what this thing has done for me.
I know. Oh, I don't like children. I mean, I like my friends who are moms. I'm like the best friend. I'm like, they're like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I'm an adult. Call me next week when you're not so tired. You're raising your child with great character. Like, I support that. But if I had a child, I'd chase them with a wooden spoon. No, I wouldn't, but I would rise to the occasion. But still, I find them loud, sticky, and expensive. So yeah, so anyway, I take a picture of that. I come home, Steph, who is one of the 2 women who writes with me on this on Google Hangout. We write on mute. I tell her, and she's like, text me a picture. You know, but this is my doctor. Now, he's not going to do that for another patient because they're going to think it's gross. I was like, oh, look how small, look at the copper. Okay, by the way, to those of you out there, so copper, when you have an ID, it can do things like perforate and it can get stuck in there and they have to do some kind of horrible thing to get it out. It can be very painful to insert. That's going to bring me one other thing. But, you know, the Mirena has hormones in it. You can get a Mirena mustache. I'm not really looking for the goatee and the mustache. And copper, it's just copper repelling those little spermies, no chemical or anything. So to me, that is the most optimal form of birth control. So that's what I had. The other thing was about, wait, I just thought, oh, I had some kind of important thing here. The IUD, damn. Okay, I just lost it. It was on, this is some type of health thing. Sorry, I've forgotten. Hopefully I've given people other good information. What was that? IUDs and... We're
talking about IUDs. You went there, you were looking at it, and then you were talking to your friend while you were writing.
Yeah. Sorry.
Still not triggering it.
Yeah, it just was... oh, I know it. Oh, okay, thanks. I just remembered. IUD. So this is so horrible. So if you're a man and you need to get some kind of biopsy of your penis, your testicles, they don't go like, let me just take a big claw and like hack a piece out of you. Women are denied pain relief. They get these procedures. The doctor will say, and this is women who have had stuff done, they'll say, oh, it's just a pinch. There was a woman, I read about her. Was she on Reddit? I used to troll Menopause Reddit a lot when I was writing the book to see what women were being denied or what was, what was happening in just amongst women. And she'd been in the military and had suffered some horrible harm somewhere, it was like had horrible pain. And she said she nearly passed out from the pain, I think, of her IUD being removed. And if you get a biopsy or anything, the doctor, they owe you pain relief. They don't get to deny it to, oh, it's a pinch, and so I encourage women, it's in my book. And this is it just, you can demand pain relief. Tell them you're not having the procedure without it. You have a right to pain relief. You have a right to have your pain, medicated away by the doctor, and they don't get to tell you no, or it's just a pinch or anything. It's wrong. It's torture. And we deserve better. And so demand better. We women, okay, we're high in agreeableness, that pleaser personality trait, but you know what? It's not a mandate. You can say, okay, yeah, I'm motivated to behave this way. And guess what? I'm going to be brave and stand up for myself, and I'm going to be proud of myself and tell other women I did this, and it was hard for me and I did it. And then the other one, you're a growly little dog. Oh, you're sweetie. I spent all day kissing her little head. Molesting. Yeah. So this is vitally important.
And I think that is an answer to where do you see healthcare? It's really like us standing up for things. Like that's where the change will come.
Thank you.
We've got to
You're
do
right.
that.
You're right. That is what I see. So this is a necessity. The necessity is for us to have open eyes. This happened more after COVID, where we see, okay, I need to be, they used to have this in New York, an educated consumer as a best customer. Cy Sperling was like hair club for men. But, that's the thing. You need to inform yourself the best you can and understand also, people will say, do your own research. Okay. So if you don't know all the stuff that I had beaten into me by Sandra over the years, and generally, of course, you don't know, what do they, what happened? Where's the control group? Did they drop it on the floor? Oh, wait, no, this doesn't make sense in light of physiology. Wait a second. They put, like you were saying this before, this is a big thing with evolutionary psychology research, that we know there are sex differences in the brain, not gender differences. You're born with the evolved female psychology, and there are differences. They show up. There's all these no, we're really oh, it's because we're, assigned. No, there, men have greater muscle mass and, higher testosterone, and we evolved to, long for commitment, even when we don't want a boyfriend. We behave in certain ways, and because this is our evolved psychology to protect us. The women who are I'm going to have sex with any dude, it doesn't matter if he's committed or not, and then I'm going to be left with the child in the savannah. This is not a recipe for survival of mommy or baby. And so women who survive were the women who are a little bit more show me, where my flowers and stuff, and those guys can be deceptive, but that's a difference. And that men are more that they have, physical attraction is really a priority. It's not that we don't want physical attraction, and men and women both. We all want. David Buss, really great researcher friend of mine, mating. He did a cross-cultural study in '84 before people were doing that. You really need to study cross cultures. That women and men across cultures both want intelligence and kindness in a partner. This is a priority. And then these other things, if you're a guy and you're we prefer tall women to tall men. If you're 5'6" and you have a jet, that's you're actually 6 feet tall, for a lot of women. So these things that, this is just how we evolved. And so, these are there are certain things that we can't just decide are different. Same thing with our health, that you can't just decide I'm going to eat this way and I'll be fine. And I think that your whole point, you really nailed it with the idea of what's different is that we need to be very involved with our care as much as is possible. And beware. Oh, the other thing is there are all these people, these influencers. I think that they get their stuff from AI. I see them all over Twitter, and I try not to waste too much time, but I'll sometimes, get in, they'll say, oh, the worst dopamine. Oh, your dopamine hit. Okay. Dopamine is a hormone of seeking it and wanting, not liking. This is Barrage from MSU, great researcher. And all these people saying this, they almost say it. No, no, no. And I had a scientist friend who's a dear friend of mine. He was mad at me for maybe 9 months because I corrected him on Twitter. But public understanding of science, it's really important to me to correct those things. My friend Ray Hames, there was one of those about it. The guy was like, evolution that something about fruit, no. I can't remember what it was. But he said, why are you bothering? And I said, because this is what I'm about, is that I don't want people he's putting out this misinformation, and this is what I love about what you do. What you're doing, to me, this is like religion, that you're putting out the science and having the people on to tell what the science is so people can have, command over their health. We're not preyed on anymore like we were in the 70s, these sleazebags. What's his name? Fred Astaire, and the other one starts with an H, Mark. Horrible, paid by big sugar. Look how many people, think about how many people have died, suffered and died. I go get my eyes, the eye care for I've left this cornea surgeon. I'll never go see her again, even though she did a good job in the cutting part. But, I acknowledge that you have to be fair about stuff, but so I go there, it's in a Black neighborhood. Oh my God, there are all these ladies, these wonderful, cute, stylish old ladies and men, and you see people amputations, and they're very obese and they're frail, and it just breaks my heart. You see all this, and I think was that the McGovern Commission? What was? How did you get that way?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, and it's evil. It's I call
it. There's no consequence for that. It's a consequence on the person, but not for the decision makers who put that out there.
Except those guys made money,
yeah.
And then the people, statins. Oh my God, some guy, what was his name? Ronald Daniel Scott. And I name his name because this is evil and against the law. I get this. I'm prescribed statins. What? Seriously, my triglycerides are 30. Hello, HDL, and this is probably wrong. It was probably 102, but it was 79. This was when I had some kind of, it was a metabolic, the dysfunction of the steroid she gave me.
Yeah.
So it's probably, so my ratio, the risk ratio is 0.4. Everything, inflammation, CRP 0.3, everything's like that. Everything's extraordinary metabolic health. And because I had high LDL, here's the calculation, because I had to fight this, my chart, and they wouldn't remove it for a while. It just got removed. Now I'm, what am I? Hyperlipidemia. Oh my God, seriously? I'm like, ugh. But so they put this in my chart. He prescribes me a statin. This man has never met me. He's never spoken to me. And here's the calculation, because he wrote it in the chart. Okay, so she has healthy liver enzymes. Her thyroid is normal. And she's high LDL. So she must have, this is, her heart's going to blow. Okay, if you talk to me, I explain to you that I eat a carnivore diet. I eat a lot of fat. So I clear a lot of fat. I'm a lean mass hyperresponder, and that you look at these triglycerides, etc. My LPA, okay, I think it's under 30 and you're not going to die. Mine's 10. Yeah. And this is because they say, oh, this is genetic and everything. Yes, it is, but it's decreased more by eating a carnivore diet. I think, or low carb might be 10 or 15%, and then maybe 20, some large percent by taking estradiol. So, it's probably lower than it was or would have been, and all these other metrics. And what?
You just have this one number, and he's got a CYA and prescribe you that statin.
Oh, you know what? If you prescribe a patient, he never spoke to me. There was no informed consent. There was nothing, and so I haven't, reported. I'm too busy dealing with the fact that I, might fall at any moment because I have no feeling in my feet. I mean, this is the worst thing anyone has ever done to me in my entire life. And this woman and this is what we're talking about, the institutions. So Kaiser, she is an elite cornea surgeon. So I blame her, but I also blame Kaiser. She has a responsibility. I mean, it's not like she's prescribing a panoply of drugs, steroids, these horrible, antibiotics. And in that field, the cornea surgery field, for the thing it's called Fuchs endothelial dystrophy. they all are very cavalier about these antibiotics. They prescribe them. And now these drugs, they destroy mitochondria. They, they harm your collagen. They elevate reactive oxygen species, so oxidative stress, and these things called matrix metalloproteinases, which sound like they might be like a cool, like metallic silver hair color. They're all of these things are making your eye worse. They compromise wound healing. Okay, so I'm having a transplant. She's sewing this one cell layer of tissue into my eye from a donor after scraping mine off. And we're going to compromise my wound healing with an antibiotic when another one that's not like this, that doesn't put me at risk in this way, is available. And she doesn't know. Sorry, I'm raising my knees and my, like, the pants that don't match my shirt. This is so egregious, and they don't even know. And then the other day, so I go to get a second opinion. I will never see her again, as I said. And so the guy, I tell him all about how I don't want the back preservatives, benzalkonium chloride. If you get eye drops, you look for parabens, that's a preservative. And then also benzalkonium chloride, it's really, really toxic and horrible. Erodes the corneal epithelium in a matter of days. Okay, that's a really bad idea.
Yeah, you just had eye surgery. That's the worst thing you could possibly do.
She doesn't know. They don't know in this field. Another guy before her, I went to the cataract guy before. He was like, yeah, you got to see the lady down the hall, and he tells me to go get, because you have a pump problem. This is your pumping function of your endothelium, which is a pump. It's not working. And so hypertonic saline drops, this helps to draw out the water that's stuck there. So I go down and they have parabens in them. So I message him like, oh, there was some kind of mistake because these have preservatives. So I say, can you please give me, ones without preservatives? This is a guy, he's a cataract surgeon. Really handsome Indian guy too, like sort of like, oh, handsome. Well, then he became ugly because he said, I said, ones without preservatives. He said, is there such a thing? I'm the patient. Like, I don't know this field at all. Now, I read, I went in without reading because I was on my book stuff. And then I had a week where my transplant wasn't holding. Now, I'm metabolic. You can look at me and see I'm pretty metabolically healthy. That's not always, you can't always see that, but I am. That's what? Wait a second.
Yeah, your healing should be
what she did.
Top notch.
She prescribed me a huge overdose of corticosteroids. The standard in the field for these transplants called DMEK, DMEK, with a 1.9% failure rate. Not for people like me, it's for people, well, sometimes it can be rejection of the tissue, like if it has, well, whatever. But so I'm not likely to reject this. So standard in the field is 4. This is not based in science, it's clinical habit. They all think it's based in science. It's not. She thinks that 4 is good, 8 is better. This is so little understanding of the immune system, steroids, like so much. I mean, it's horrifying. So because I hadn't read, I was so weak after the transplant. You have to lie on your back 100% of the time. I couldn't read. I couldn't hold my phone up or anything. I had a thing for whatever, my iPad for TV, and that was all I could do. I couldn't even listen to podcasts. I was so dead, just like really dumb, like what dumb stuff. So, the week between, so I go in for an exam. She's like, your transplant is not holding here. Oh my God. So they have to do this thing called rebubbling. This is like the Clockwork Orange. It's horrible. I'm really like a baby about that kind of pain. So she says, we're going to wait a week. She's medically prudent. She's a good surgeon. She's good at cutting, medically prudent. You have to give people their props and not just be all like, I hate you. I hate you. I don't, but this is egregious, her negligence. And so during that week, all I do that whole week is read science. Morning till night, I don't see friends. Not that I'm seeing people, when I'm in this condition, I'm home. But, I'm just, reading, and I read all the science and I'm horrified by, how like the drugs and everything. It's so absolutely horrible. And so then I know I know that the steroid is very systemic. That's why I'm sick. I know to find one. I look and I find Lotamax ointment, because the other ones, all of them have back preservatives. The hell? Okay, it's cheaper. It's shelf stable. Oh, goody. Shelf stable. You know what's not shelf stable are my eyes, my eyesight. You don't get to destroy my eyes. Oh, we're going to destroy the village, save the village. Only there's no saving the village once the, horrible. So I asked the doctor, I'm all nervous because this is really consequential. So I present all this information, why I need to have, number one, an eye drop without the back preservatives. And because I don't know the class effect, all I have is the thing that just says anaphylaxis, whatever. I don't know it's dangerous. I just find one in the same generic class because Kaiser's about, saving money. It's an HMO. So I find moxifloxacin instead of ofloxacin. Doesn't have the preservative. Oh, let's take that. Oh, if only I'd known. So she switches that, and then I thought it was a black thing there. Sorry. And then I tell her I want to use the Lotemax instead of the prednisolone acetate. She's miffy about it too, and like she actually said, it's your body. Like she said in a snippy way. I can't even do it now. And I thought like, yeah, it is. And you gave me something that was scientifically like unwarranted, like you're giving me the systemic effects. Corticosteroids are very harmful, and she has patients take them for life. Really, yeah, nuh-uh. And so anyway, she gives me this. It has less of an effect, but I've been so overdosed. You have to taper on these things. I know all of this better than she does, and I don't say that arrogantly. I shouldn't have to know any of that. I should be like this person who's still writing behavioral science and like, doctor, what should I do?
Well, that's right. You shouldn't have to know all of this.
And the one thing I didn't know, like I couldn't know the class effect. She's responsible for that. So then this is so sick. So she gives me these drugs. When you take these, the fluoroquinolones, it's supposed to be, only the oral ones and the injected ones have this tendon effect. Okay, no. If you give me a drug, QID, which means 4 times a day, and you have me take this, I took it at least 5 weeks, 4 times a day, because also patients are not given proper instructions. So I have a cornea transplant. I'm like, it feels like the world dropped an anvil on me, on my everything, energy, life. I come home, my friend Quantum Jonathan brings me home. I, get in bed. I'm not capable of, doing anything. And, and so I am prayed, anyway, so she tells me when I tell her what happened was I just got my sutures removed in my transplant on the left on, it was October 3rd. This is the beginning of the debilitation of Amy. I hope it's not permanent. It might be irreversible, the neuropathy, which is you have nerve damage. I can't feel my feet. So the 2 doses I took that night, I wake up with trigger finger on Saturday, which is this thing where your finger's bent like a plank.
Right. Yeah.
And it terrifying. You have to bend it back with your hand. It happens twice. Then something goes on my foot and everything. This is terrifying. So I talked to her on Monday. I sent her this whole thing. Okay, here's what I need. I need you to do, refer me. I need an MRI to figure out the level of tendon damage. So I know if I shouldn't move things, referral to an appropriate specialist and everything. She gets on the phone with me. We have a phone appointment. They scheduled me for one with her. And she's like, instead of saying, I would have taken like just even a crappy apology, I'm sorry you feel that way. The medical version is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry you're suffering. Like, I'll like take that. I like don't even like even without the accountability. I'm just so terrified and broken. And so none of that. And what she does, she defends herself. So she says, I accommodated you. Like, and so now I'm a mediator and I'm a little bit of a hothead, but I know to like, okay, Amy, shut up. What is it? What does that mean? Like, and she says, I gave you the Lotemax. Like, wait, so I corrected the scientifically bereft treatment you gave me without any kind of informed, no informed consent for me, but you don't even know how damaging this was. What you prescribed patients is huge overdose of drugs. And for me as a metabolically healthy patient, not taking my individual health into account, so horrible. And so I stopped you from making me so sick. Also, gave me tachycardia and bradycardia for months. Like the doctor doesn't, and I tell her this and I show her 177 beats per minute. This is really dangerous. And I just realized you don't go, oh, let's move on. You schedule it like let me get you to the EKG machine like 5 minutes ago, you know, and
Yeah, I mean, that should have had an immediate response.
I know this doctor, she's like, I'm going to be using her medical license to wipe up dog vomit. And I'm not a vengeful person, but you know what? She needs to not harm patients like this.
Yeah.
This is horrible, you know, or there needs to be somebody needs to be overlooking her. This is what should happen. This is responsible. The medical provider, they need to do this. So, you know, and I'm not a sue doctors person with her. In fact, my optometrist had said, he had told me that I had cataracts. And so what I realized was like, this was like August. And then I got diagnosed, maybe it was like September with the Fuchs dystrophy. And they're like, this doesn't like happen overnight. This is a genetic disease, progressive genetic disease. And I said to her, can I, you know, ask you something? I don't look to like go after doctors or like harm them or something. But I said, I think this doctor, you know, didn't see this. And that's like, he should, the slit lamp. How does he not see these cells? They're called gutata. They look like, you know, hammered copper. You see them.
Yeah,
And he
so
didn't notice. He didn't tell me. Oh my God. She said, so paternalistic. He wrote it in my medical record, but didn't tell me. Okay, my mother had Fuchs dystrophy. I'm very obviously a medical expert in the way I talk and everything. QID. People don't say that. I say that because like I'm trying to be cool. Really, so, no. You know, it's like, you know, this. You know, you don't not tell me that. And so what I was asking her, and she said, "Oh, he did notice." And what I was looking to say, what I said to her is like, I don't want to, my goal isn't to report him. He seems to be a careful doctor. Remember, I assess care. So I'm not the average patient. And I thought, you know, I just need to tell him this is consequential to me and that, you know, he not miss this or whatever it is. And when she said he put it in there and didn't tell me, you know, but so she already knew like that I wasn't some like, I want your head on a spike kind of person, just like, you know, why harm someone's career? Just tell them like, hey, this was important and you didn't tell me and that's not okay. Whatever, you know.
Don't we all need the opportunities to learn and grow? And we can't have that. Like,
well, if you're operating my eye, no, you can like grow beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but with him, this was the thing of like, how did you not?
But he could have caught that earlier before it got to that point, or I don't know what the management is.
He saw it and didn't tell me.
Yeah, that's
how
the problem.
dare you? So what she said, he told me like, look, you know, you might have some like blurry vision, and when it gets bad, you can get a cataract operation. And so, you know, I had all this stuff for my book and everything, but I would have approached this differently if I had known, oh, I have a genetic disease. Does it help? Should I get the surgery sooner rather than later? Does that help? Will my eyes be in a better state? All this stuff, the decisions had removed from me. You know, our choice as patients, you need to be informed consent. There's not such a thing as uninformed consent. You can't consent unless you know, and the doctors have to tell you. And that's why if there's one message I left besides like all the other messages, you need to ask your doctor, make them tell you the adverse effects. If they don't know, you know, you still need to go home and look them up for yourself and see if they know all of them, if they even understand what they need to understand. And like you said, I think that was really the thing you nailed. This is the time where we are engaged as patients, not the way we were before. You know, I was raised to be very respectful of doctors. My grandpa was a pediatrician, you know, and like if there was a person, my mother always said, that's Dr. So-and-so. You know, and I call people sir and ma'am and stuff like that, you know, especially my mediation clients who sometimes are homeless. That means a lot to treat them with like that great deference until they say, call me James or something like that, you know. And so that respect for doctors, like with the salutation and everything, that was built in. And, you know, people who we respect, they need to earn our respect. And people who harm us cavalierly, the negligence in this, that, you know, you're dealing with people's health. Like my book, you know, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't go Thanksgiving, Christmas. I didn't go anywhere. I stayed home. And this is because, you know, I have friends, people invited me places. I felt such a responsibility to use every drop of time and energy. Check that. Amy, is that right? You better check again, check again, check again. You know, and to have, you know, that, you know, fear of like getting it wrong. How people are reading this book. like I must, and this is why I got a review on Kirkus where they said, oh, she doesn't say anything about testosterone. I'm sorry, like there wasn't like, no, I'm not sorry at all. I was like, bite my alabaster S. It was that, there wasn't longitudinal research on safety for breast cancer when I wrote that part of the book. This, massive, complex book. And, I wasn't able, when I was like, they're like, turn it in or we're canceling your contract after the sixth time of being late. I had to like turn the book in. And so it's not an excuse, but I saw after I turned the book in, then I saw, oh, look, there's longitudinal research now. So I can safely, like the testosterone, then I had to say, we don't know, and I think it's probably safe for cardiovascular disease too. That's not out yet, but that's a guess. And I always tell people that, and that's being responsible, and not having, I call it amazeballs science. All the influencers, oh my God, if you do this, your teeth will be right. You'll have sex with like 10 people that wants that, like, it's sort of gross. We're women, like, like I don't want to have an orgy. I just want like a, age appropriate male who's masculine. Hard to find, when you're 60. But luckily I'm an evolutionary expert. So I know that men are attracted to women in their 20s throughout their lifespan. So I don't take it personally. And, and men want to talk to you too. Like, I don't want to talk to someone, you're 20. Like, I'm going to pet your head. Go get me a cocktail. Whatever. Like, then I have friends who are really wonderful in their 20s, and then they, yell at me for that. This is, we have a responsibility for ourselves now. That's the thing, is you have to be assertive. Aggressive's bad because that's like punching somebody, but assertive is, hi, I matter. My health means something. You don't get to treat me irresponsibly. You owe me. You're my doctor, and you must, take that seriously. And ethical responsibility involves them knowing all the harms they possibly can, and treating you with science, and not just being like, I don't know how to read it. I didn't either. I'm a weirdo. I live in Venice. I drove a pink car, a pink Rambler got stolen. I tracked my thief. I'm not like, I didn't go to med school, but I learned science. I learned to evaluate research, all of this, to be responsible and transdisciplinarily. E.O. Wilson, the Harvard sociobiologist, he was a bug guy. I love him. I have his book, Consilience, here. What consilience is, it's a jumping together of knowledge. And he makes the point that modern science is that it's not just unitary disciplines. And so PhDs, so if you're a researcher or a doctor, you're forced to narrowcast. You don't get to be like a foot guy and a heart guy, or dude or lady. Sorry, dude and lady are different. But you're responsible, for example, for knowing physiology and knowing, that there are different kinds of chemicals and substances in the body that are important and matter and may influence us. And you need to do, study physiology and use that to fact check the science. And this is what's missing. And I just find, maybe there's part of me that's this naive Midwestern girl, like that's the one who was like, you'll give it to the rest of your patients, won't you? Where I think, so now I'm going to sound like Greta. How dare you? How dare you have a responsibility for my health? Prescribe me drugs. And you don't really know, like, could they, I'm sorry, like give her like debilitating tendon injury and neuropathy. If you can't feel your feet like I can't now, you don't balance properly. I walk weirdly now. My one leg I was running to Motown in the alleys of Venice at midnight with a flashlight. I'm disciplined, like really fast, and dance on my porch like that vigorously. And now I can't walk. One leg drags because this is horrible. This is so horrible. And that she didn't apologize. And also she didn't take the steps to get me the referral I needed. And I'm fighting Kaiser now. This is not going to go well for them. I'm like a big mouth all over Twitter, and I'm going to keep, going on about this. People find out about fluoroquinolones, but also the Kaiser thing. Here I am, medical expert, I know all about delivery care. I know all these escalations, what you say. I know the ICD, the diagnostic codes for fluoroquinolone entry. I know to look for them, to put them in my Department of Managed Care, California, that's the health department here, to put them in my grievance and to make it really urgent so they can force Kaiser to give me, the diagnostic treatment I need, because I need an MRI. So I know where's the damage in my tendons. Are there parts of my body I need to immobilize? Like being sedentary, like not being able to move, and it's terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, you don't know where this is happening, and nobody wants to help you, and you're on your own trying to figure it out. And you could be right now just sitting here
Oh,
causing
absolutely.
injury and have no idea.
My tendon could rupture, spontaneous rupture.
Yes.
My Achilles tendon could rupture right now. This is not a part of your body you want to go explode in you.
No.
And through nothing I did, I've done everything right in terms of like taking care of myself. I run at midnight, for God's sake. Like, young lady, get your behind out there. I'm not the person who is, and even if you are, you're still owed that. But
Yes.
here I am, harmed by a doctor who is the most cavalier. It's like ignorance gone evil, that you just don't know, not taking any responsibility to learn. Just, here, defensive medicine. She prescribes to defend her career. She's ignorant of the effects. So she overtreats. First, harm. What we patients don't understand is that applies to doctors first in many cases.
Yeah.
And then you come second. You're the second priority. And maybe they're going to help you, but maybe they're going to overtreat you or undertreat you because they don't know. And that's the most protective thing for their career.
It's just a reiteration that we need to stand up for ourselves and learn what we can. Like if we know something's going to happen, take that step to learn what we can ahead of time so that we can have that some ground to stand on. It's very unfortunate, and I know that you're not the only person that is going through something like this. And
No.
Some people might not even recognize that it came from the doctor. They might just be
exactly.
Yeah.
So this is a great point. So they say, there really aren't cases of people using the fluoroquinolone eye drops. Guess what? Most people are not going to know to connect this.
Right.
They're not going to look and see, wait a second, to see what might have caused this, and I found that out. Most people won't. And so there are many cases that aren't reported. There are some case studies, but the idea where a doctor says this is the most unscientific thinking, it only comes from the injected and oral. Really, there are people we don't know what our metabolism is of certain drugs. You can be very sensitive. I'm very sensitive to steroids. That is such an ignorant thing to say. You say that to me, already have told me so much about how you are not a scientific thinker. You are, it's just, if this is just your own knowledge and it's going nowhere and you're just sort of wanking off, about stuff. Okay, nope, none of my business. The moment you have responsibility for someone else's health in your hands, this is so terrible. This woman if she has done this to me, maybe I'll recover from this. I hope so. But it's getting worse every day and I'm healthy. It started with a base of health. This is not a good sign. This is ruinous to me. When you don't have your ability to exercise, like I might not be able to exercise. Right now, I've had to make this since Kaiser hasn't given me a diagnosis. What I've had to do is say, okay, it's engineering thinking, make a trade-off. So engineering is the trade-off. So if we spend this much on the steel, or if we subtract this much, if we spend this little, will the bridge collapse? So what I had to say to myself, so horrible. Okay, tendons, if I'm going to sell out possibly my tendon health in order to not have nerve damage that could cause me to not have balance, where you fall, you could get a concussion. I nearly fell in the shower last night catastrophically. I grabbed onto something, and there's not a lot to grab my shower, but the old house clawfoot tub. I grabbed onto this pole and luckily I didn't rip it out of the thing. But this is terrifying and horrible. So if I get a concussion, like, I mean, I just do this, the writing and everything. I'm not like, I can't clap on the beat. I'm not that useful otherwise. This is who I am, and I really can do something valuable. But I mean, I lose that, because I become like, no, this is the most horrible. This is horrible what she did to me. And that's the thing, all of this, with the, where we just can't know some of this, and then these other patients, I see there's another woman, she said, oh, whatever her issue was, Kaiser wasn't doing anything for her. They seem to be, this is really a sick thing. So a way now that people are denied care is this protocol-based denial protocol. Oh, you have to go through your primary care doctor to get a referral. They have these rules. What, well, wait a second. You hear that I am in urgent need of this appointment because I could have catastrophic immediate tendon rupture from routine movement, like I pick up a coffee mug. Well, you have to go through your primary care doctor. So we'll leave him a message. And then so they do that. And then they say, oh, this is Friday. They say he won't be back till Thursday. Okay, wait a second. And then his nurse calls me and said, and he probably won't get your message right away. So Thursday was like days ago. Do you think that I don't have a referral? I don't have an appointment. I don't have the referral to call to make the appointment. Then they'll be like, we don't have anything until like November 3rd. They did that with neurology. And I called them. See, this is the thing, the beauty of being a bitch. I'm a 61-year-old woman. I used to be like a pleaser. I didn't have any friends like in New York. Like, oh, like I'll help you move. And then you're moving and they're like, I'm in the Hamptons, I have a hang now. I had no real friends and I changed and developed self-respect and everything like that. But like this thing of, sorry, I lost my train of thought on all of this. I was on the self-respect thing. Being a bitch. So and you have to be a bitch in the right way. You can't like be like screaming at them or whatever. But I called neurology and I said, tell the head of neurology, who's the guy I see. I always like, try to see somebody who has a research background or something. Tell him that I can't feel my feet. I couldn't feel them. Now I can't feel my fingers, and I've like itching. So itching is a sign this is neuropathy, like where you just have suddenly like, and then you have electrical sparks and like pins and needles in different places in your body. I said, this is progressive. I can't balance. I can't walk. Tell him that. So November 3rd became tomorrow. Like now I have an appointment tomorrow, and it would have been better today, but still that's better. And I'll see him before this progresses further. Oh, and so the trade-off I'm making is so sick. So when you have this, risk, you're not supposed to move. Like you said, you're not supposed to move. But I thought, okay, the neuropathy, lifetime, this will be more debilitating and horrible. Like tendons, maybe you can, like maybe there's some way to bring, who knows? I mean, I do know, but it's like a whole bunch of stuff in my head. But so I thought, what we're going to do, because I know this, that to possibly, stop the neuropathy, you load your tendons. Now, this is counterintuitive, and I only know this because I started writing a book on osteoporosis that was supposed to be published by this publisher. They will not publish that. I'm not going to have them publish it. I'm going to have somebody else. But so it's almost done. And so I did all of this deep research, and I found this counterintuitive stuff like jumping to deal with the osteoarthritis pain. I mean, you do this. It's like Gary Tubbs when he had like bacon and eggs. He read this. He knew. But just counterintuitive, like, wait, I'm gonna have a heart attack after I finish this, right? He thought that even though he knew better. So the jumping thing, I'm like, okay, this is so horrible that you're doing this. Yeah, but you read this. The science is good. Okay, jump. This meant in perimenopause, I had horrible pain. I don't anymore. Now, this is the end of one story, another anecdote, but you see this in the research. And there's a guy named Howard Lux, who's an orthopedist. I really like him. So I saw this in his blog post, like maybe like 8 or 10 years ago. And, where he said, look, if you're old, like and you're in pain, your tendons are in pain, or you can't run as much as you used to. The answer is don't run. That's not the answer is not don't run. The answer is, okay, you're a little old, take it a little easier. Run, but like don't run 7 miles. run 6 miles or 4 miles, or, like wear better shoes, or don't run barefoot if you're on, hard ground or something like that, and that's what I learned. So what I'm doing, it's terrifying. I am, as a person with compromised tendencies, I'm not doing my usual workout. So if I'll work, I have a barbell, and I'll do the squats with a 40-pound weight vest, and I do slow speed to make them really be like, okay, you're going to like die under this elephant of weight. So now I do them lazy person way, like no vest, no nothing. I just do squats like, okay, up and down, like no, the slow or anything. And I do them. I'm terrified. Will something rupture? I hear a pop in my elbow the other day. This is a really bad sign. And then I'm doing push-ups, but not like I normally do the military with a 20-pound weight on my back, and I do it on top of like holding up 2 weights. So I'm doing it like more distance, and then I'm not going down all the, so now I'm doing lazy push-ups, but there's still, so I'm loading. And so that may help the neuropathy or not. Maybe it'll make it worse. I don't know, but I have to guess because nobody's giving me the diagnostic appointment. And what's so stupid is that, they turned me from a patient who was just like, to my doctor, like, okay, the damage is done. Like, give me the diagnostic appointment so I can like go forward. That was the 7th. It's now the 21st. Seriously? Really? So around when she said, when she started saying the thing about, I accommodated you, my thought was like, I will sue you down to your hand lotion. And Kaiser has managed, it's called mandatory binding arbitration. Guess what? I already know which firms are best at winning huge cases against Kaiser, and she's engaged in a number, the negligence all the way through, the tachycardia thing, all this stuff. She's, and this is the thing, I wrote it in one of my books. It might have been Good Manners for Nice People Sometimes Say the F word, where I say, look, these people want, or might have been I See Rude People. That was one before. These are science-based books on manners, and why we experience so much rudeness and how to change things. And where doctors had met with patients who had a grievance, where the doctor had harmed the patient, and the doctor was accountable, and they said, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, and I was wrong, or whatever, that the patients often will either not sue or not, or they'll go for a lot less money. It just made such a difference. And this woman being so, I'm debilitated. How dare she? Like, I'm like bouncy like a puppy. I always did this, not so much in Ann Arbor where I went to school, but in New York, there's these long blocks. Like, it takes a long time to get around if you're walking. So I'd run, it's faster. Same thing here. Like, I run like Kaiser. When I went to that appointment where she removed my sutures on Friday, when I took those 2 doses Friday night that kicked me into like, I'm this new debilitated old lady. I bounced into Kaiser. I normally wear evening dresses to stay wear and then cowboy boots, but I was wearing my little, like the pants I have now, they're like yoga pants in wild colors. And then my little Skechers shoes, bouncy, bounce in there. I'm happy because the people there, I love the people, they have the cultured niceness in the lobby. Happy to see Janisha and everybody. It's like, hi. And then even after my appointment, the sutures, which is a little bit like Frankensteinian, the removal, it's sort of horrible. But I, go out of there, okay, and I bounce. I see the Uber driver, she's a black lady with a pixie cut, and I think, oh, she's stylish, so she looks fun. I'm happy. Bounce to her car. Hi, oh, thank you for picking me up. And that's the end of me, bouncy me. That's the last bouncy me, and
it can't be. It can't be. There has to be something. There has to be something there, because they're supposed to be helping you improve your quality of life and not steal it away from you.
And so now, like, I know how to present a case. My trademark lawyer actually helped me with something where she told me like how you need to present it to a lawyer so you seem, like I talk fast and everything. I need to have everything very organized, presented this way. I'm also a very good client. Here's a tip. If anyone has a lawyer, I had a First Amendment case because I'm an activist for the Constitution, and I try to get people to stand up against the TSA, not against them personally, but hi, this is not the Mossad. It's like repurposed mall food court workers. And I believe that the purpose of the TSA was to train us to be docile in the face of our rights being taken from us. So I did civil disobedience at the TSA, and I got a lawsuit. A woman filed a $500,000 lawsuit against me, plus a blog takedown, First Amendment lawyer and all of this. What was the point? Oh, I know. So my lawyer, he trained me on how to be a good client. I realized to do this. So he said, look, here's what happens with the case. I'm going to take this amount of time. I'm going to be having my associates do this research, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to hear from me. But if you get nervous, you text me and I'll reassure you. And so now with the lawyer, what I'll do is say, look, tell me what information you need. And I'll actually look that up beforehand. You can use AI. Like what's the way to present this? What's look for and everything. And then, tell me what you need me to do to be the kind of client who helps you be at your best, and to see how much I have all they hire medical experts. Okay, I know all the science. I'll give it to you. You can find the expert to fit the science. I've already done this research. So that makes it cheaper for them because they don't have to do all the investigation. Here it is. It's all spoon fed, like, my book. So I should probably go, by the way, because I have to, talk to my doctor, who's good. I have one of my doctors is going to see if he can help me get an MRI.
This conversation has been so good that my earbuds died, and
oh my God,
it might be echoing now because when I use my regular speakers, it echoes. So people get tired of hearing me do that. So,
but the great thing is, I think this destroyed my hearing. So, when it's okay. I have buzzing in one ear. That's neuropathy. Yeah. So I'm joking about it, but I'm gonna seriously. Terrible. No, this has been wonderful. I love you for what you do. You're such a cool person. Also, I came on here and I was like, I have technical problems. And I'm all like, and you're fun and nice. And you weren't like chop, girlfriend.
No, not at all. It's been, like I said, I've been looking forward to having this conversation since before I even asked you to come on. So I'm just very thankful that you came on and joined and shared all your stuff.
Going Menopostal, what you and your doctor need to know about the real signs of menopause and perimenopause. You can get this Amazon, Barnes & Noble, independent booksellers. And then also there's an excellent audiobook read by, now it's not going, Carrington McDuffie. She's wonderful. I cast her. I used to produce commercials right out of college. I cast Eartha Kitt for a Hardee's Fish Sticks commercial. So I nearly killed her because I drove on the wrong side of the road in England when she was there for a concert. So luckily I managed not to, off both of us in the car. But Carrington is so wonderful. So if you're not a reader, get that. And if your friends aren't readers, please tell them what's in the book. Tell people what they need to know. And then also, so I have a free Substack newsletter, and I've missed the first deadline in 25 years writing nearly 25 years writing a syndicated column that I don't write anymore because the paper's died, but my Substack because of my health issues, but I'm gonna get that out, hopefully get it out by tomorrow. So if you send me an email, blank subscribers@amyalkon.net, then I will put you on the list for it, and try to do it sooner rather than later, because then they do some kind of vetting like, Amy Alkon, are you a spammer? No, I'm not.
I think if you already have a Substack, because I was able to get to yours from mine because I already have one. So if you already have a Substack, you may be able to go in through the traditional way.
Oh, yes. Oh, you're right. So if you do that, so look for Science Made Practical at amyalkon.net. I have my own address. It's echoing again. And so if you just subscribe there, it'll be instant because you've opted in, and it's not me going like, she really does, I promise.
Yeah, do it that way. It'll be easier.
Yeah, thanks. Good advice. Thanks for having me. This is wonderful.
Yes, thanks so much for joining today. I really appreciate it. And like I said, all of this information you've given is just it's been empowering, and I don't know that I would have been able to continue on with these symptoms that I've had not reading that and finding that from you. So,
thank you for telling me that. It means so much. These little things, right? That's not a little thing, it's a big thing. I'm surviving on the kindness of friends and strangers and little remarks and like a ray of sunshine, my little dog, because this is, I cry a lot during I sob.
You're going through quite a bit in real time right now. And
it's like a tragedy. If you're like, I'm thinking, wait, I'm not going to be this person I planned to be where I was going to, and you can't always, friends of mine have cancer, and they're debilitated. My friend Annabelle Gerwich, she's such a great, if you know anyone who has lung cancer or breast cancer, she's really wonderful as an advocate. And she called me the other day and told me to look for a patient navigator at Kaiser. And she's been like one of my friends who's just they reach out for you when you really are low. And here's an important thing. My friend Kathy Slipe unfortunately died of cancer. I don't know if you can hear the echo there. I'm echoing on your end, maybe because of your headphones. Okay, so Kathy Sipe, she had lung cancer, and a bunch of us became Team Kathy. So we cared for her. That we would I was there Wednesday all day, and people with these, they don't want to talk about cancer. She wanted to watch Everybody Loves Raymond, but this is a really important thing. If you have friends like this, just show up. You're gonna, what? Oh, what if I say the wrong thing? You're gonna say the wrong thing. It's really horrible what they're going through. It doesn't matter. All that matters is you show up, and also ask them. Not if there's anything I can do. That's basically, I want to slap you if you say that to somebody like that. And remember, I'm just hostile, not violent. You raise the violence quotient in me, at least of desire. That you say, I'm at the store. I want to get you. Can I get you this roast beef? And then some green beans. How about, do you need dog food out? Because the dog food store, that's next door. I can pick you up. That's how you help someone. And it's really, really important. So Annabelle, she's there for people like that. And the stuff she knows, Patient Navigator, there's advocacy groups. That's very, very important. Okay, I should go because I need to talk to the guy who might help me get an MRI.
Yes, let's get you into that MRI. Again, I appreciate you. I'll put all of your information.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Oh, no, just me. Whatever.
That's so funny. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.